Hi, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with MM. This is Marivier Montibon here in Woodside, New York. And I hope you had a good time enjoying the July 4th celebrations yesterday in New York and the entire country. Hope you're feeling proud of yourself and responsible too in defending freedoms that has been the value of this country, of the US, since it was established 246 years ago. And so, this episode of ours, this conversation of ours, is going to tackle again another part of history that entailed a lot of sacrifice for freedom. And I'm talking of the situation that happened in the Philippines during the dark years of the martial law under President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. And now we have a new president in the Philippines, that is the Ferdinand Marcos Jr., just newly installed by elections of 2022. But we will not forget what happened in the martial law so that lessons from it can be learned and we will not repeat the same problem as before. So this is kind of problematic and challenging, but it's up to the people to open their eyes and be cognizant of what has happened in the past. And just like I would remember the Jewish people who were victims of the Holocaust, they keep remembering so that what happened with their loved ones will not be repeated in their own generation. They keep writing about it, they have movies about it, and they keep their freedom and they keep their responsibility in making themselves better people and better individuals, learning from the past. So I hope that that is going to happen among us Filipinos as well, wherever we are, whether we're away from the motherland or we are in the Philippines. We will remember that so that lessons could be learned and it won't be repeated. So bravely, we have a guest this evening, a beautiful woman who would like to remember her brother, who who was a casualty, I say, or a fighter for freedom in the Philippines, and she would like to honor him by remembering her brother. The name is Augusto Quezon Burdick. And I would introduce her to you when she's ready. Oh, she's back. She's there. This Our guest is a Filipino community leader in New York, and she is by profession a consultant for finances. She used to work with Morgan Stanley um, House, and she finished her education as in bachelor's of mathematics and minor in English at the Columban College, which is now Columban University in Olongapo City. I'm talking no other than the lovely and ever gracious Nieva Quezon Burdick. Hello, Tita.
Hi, good morning, or good evening, whatever it is.
Good morning in New York. I know, and good evening in the Philippines. So,
Yeah.
how are you these days, Tita?
Okay, good.
You're
Doing well.
Thank you.
My husband passed last year, so
Well, you're navigating your grief. I would understand that, and so
yeah,
I hope everything is good
it's
as I
in
see it.
process.
Yes, and I thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
This is in
Thank
honor
you for
of.
having me.
Oh, of course, my pleasure. Before we discuss what happened, Tita, I would like to show this clip to situate everything um, about our discussion. So I'd like to show this. This is from the Martial Law Museum in the Philippines, and this is going to take us past in the years past.
I signed Resolution number 2089, placing the entire Philippines under martial law.
Ipinailalim ang buong Pilipinas sa batas militar. Bunga ito ng maraming taon ng pagtatago, pag-uusap at pagpaplano ni Pangulong Marcos at ilang katiwalang militar at politiko. Sinindak nilang lahat sa banta ng komunismo at lumikha ng takot at gulo sa buong bansa. 14 na taon ng kapangyarihang walang pakundangan. Higit 50,000 tao ang inaresto at ikinulong. Marami sa kanilang pinahirapan na parang hayop, pinatay na walang kaso, at binura sa buhay at alaala. Pari, madre, estudyante, magsasaka, manggagawa, maralitang tagalungsod, mamamahayan, abogado, guro, politiko. Sarado ang Kongreso at ang mga hukuman at inilipat lahat ng kapangyarihan kay Marcos. Bawal ang malayang pagpapahayag at sarado ang media. Ipinatupad ang pambansang curfew. Bawal ang rally, demonstrasyon, pulong, strike, picket at iba pang pagtitipon. Kanselado ang paglipad ng mga eroplano at hinigpitan ang paglabay sa labas ng bansa. Nabuo ang kapit ng batas militar. At kahit nagwakas ito noong 1986, patuloy ang pagkapit ng Pangulong Marcos sa ganap na kapangyarihan.
Okay, so that's just a backgrounder of the topic that we're going to discuss today. And so, Tita, I would like to ask you in as a starter, like who was your brother, and what were your memories of him? His name was Augusto Viloria
Augusto.
Quezon, right? So there
Yes.
he is. He was killed in an encounter, military encounter, as you have told me, in Sorsogon, right? So
Yes.
tell me of your memories of him and how was your family life?
Okay. I was born after him, so he's 4 years older than me,
Mhm.
and my memory of him is sorry. He was really a very, very good brother. I mean, I had three brothers, and we were all close. And he has the most heart to
Mhm.
everybody. He would even protect our housekeepers, everybody in the house. He would always try to help them out and everything. He has that kind of heart, you know. And we all went to Manila to study, and he was his second course was taking engineering at that time, and we became involved with this because of this martial law.
Mhm.
And so at that age he was also marching whatever all the marches
The
were going
rallies. Uh-huh.
through. Uh-huh. And he was truncheon, he was hit, there was a lot of bruises on his part. And so a lot of students came to my eldest brother. My eldest brother was a professor at UE at that time. He
Mhm.
was teaching the medical school, Greek and Latin and philosophy. And so they told him to pick him up, because if they don't, he will be killed.
Mhm.
So he went immediately to pick him up, and through the government, whatever, wherever they put them. And he hid him. But
Mhm.
then my brother, he said, I wasn't born not to help Filipinos. He said, I was born to be, um, to to help really in his heart. So after all of this, he went to Bicol. That's where his group were, and they were about 13 or 16 students of them, and they were all doing this, helping usually, who are they helping? They're helping the farmers, because they learned that most farmers are losing their land
Mhm.
to the rich people, that mostly Chinese rich Filipinos there. So he was teaching every one of them their rights. So he was very well known in the community.
Tita, this was like during martial law, so this was he going underground,
Yes,
correct? Okay.
yes. So by doing that, we, in our part as a family, we
Mm.
couldn't talk about it. So what my eldest brother
Because you
was,
were scared.
yeah, we have to be quiet because if not, we can be killed as a whole family.
Right.
You know, you have to shut our mouth about what's happening. So
Mm.
my eldest brother approached Manuel L. Quezon II to,
Tita,
you know,
is
what
this
should
your
we
eldest
do?
brother, Tita?
No, no, the eldest brother is, no, that's not my,
This one. The one
yeah,
on
that
the
with glasses,
ground, the one
eyeglasses.
with eyeglasses. Okay.
Yeah, he
So
was
he
the,
was the one who like sort of protected your brother who went underground.
yes.
Mm.
And so we approached Manuel L. Quezon II. What we should we do?
Mm.
So he said, you should tell August to come down,
Mm.
and we'll try to bring him to Mexico because at that time they have a business in Mexico. Then he can work there,
Oh.
and that's the Quezon. They have their own business there at that time. I don't know what was the business, but he could, be
Mhm.
fruitful also in there by not depending on anybody. But the answer of August to us is, I am not going down because my heart is for the Filipino people. I am doing this not for my family, but for the whole Filipino people. I want to help them,
Oh
and
my.
that's my heart.
How
That's
old
where
was
my
he,
heart.
Tita, when he left your family, your comfortable?
He, he was 23.
Oh my. And so he just continued and refused to
Yes.
the offer of your uncle,
Mhm. Yeah, my oh no, of Manuel L. Quezon,
of
the
Manuel.
second, the son of the president.
So this is your cousin, Tita, or
Uh,
a relative?
um, we claim, I mean, we don't know where it is, but according to Manuel Quezon II, we are related.
Mm-hmm.
He claimed it. And now the third, Manuel L. Quezon III, who is, he was adopted by Manuel Quezon II, and the
Mm-hmm.
name was given to him as a third. So he's the one building up the tree now.
I
And
see. So
he's,
you're looking at your family tree.
yeah, he's working on it, but of course
Mm-hmm.
it's very, very difficult because we don't have documentations. You know how it is in the Philippines.
Yes.
I went to the Bataan to get my grandfather. They said it was burned during the death march. So we don't have, even our house was
Exactly.
burned during the death march. So we don't have anything,
Gosh.
any documentation, anything. So
So going back to your brother, what happened to him when he continued his life in Sorsogon?
yes, in
And
Bicol, he
then
was.
what happened to your parents? How were they reacting to this situation?
My father never said anything, but he
Mm,
was. I know he was upset by the look, by me looking at his face.
mm,
Um, my mother, because we weren't allowed to say anything, we have to
right.
be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But deep in our heart, we
You
are.
were you were worried, I'm sure, and
Yeah,
scared.
and what my brother did was there was a courier who would come once a month. Sometimes it would be a woman. We thought that's the wife, but it's not. Then there would be other young, different ones because they were very, very careful in their movements.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they requested us to. So he was being given an allowance monthly from my parents because
Support.
we need
Yeah.
the support, I don't know. My mother never mentioned about it, but the
Mm-hmm.
support is for him to be able to eat, to move around, so that he has some money in his pocket. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one. That's how I understood it. But what he was fighting for, I really don't know because
Mm-hmm.
we cannot talk about it. That's all. Even me, I have to be moved from Manila to Olongapo or Bataan
Uh-huh.
because for safety.
So could you tell us what happened I about his death when he was finally like caught in the crossfire? What happened to that,
It
Tita?
wasn't really a crossfire. Somebody tipped them that they were
Oh.
in one of the farm. Um, and they were sleeping in the bahay kubo. And
Oh,
somebody tipped them. So about, I think 16 of them were killed by the government.
oh my. Mm-hmm.
They were massacred in reality.
When was this, Tita? Would you remember?
I don't really remember, but I know he was about 24 years old at that time. So it's just a year after martial law was declared.
So could you tell us how the news was broken? How did your family find out?
It was in the Bicol paper, and one of the courier came to my mother and
Oh,
said that he is already gone.
so
And
how did your
but
mother react to this?
we couldn't. That's always the case. We couldn't do
Mhm.
anything. So we let the years pass, and then my mother went to Sorsogon to find his body if there is any wife or family that he has.
Okay.
Never found out anything. But when my mother went to the town hall to get to claim my brother's body or whatever, they said we have to pay 500 pesos to be able to claim the body. I mean,
So you,
my mother said you had already killed my son and I still have to pay you. So
mm,
my mother left. When she was walking out, somebody whispered into her ears. They said, you have to go to the cemetery and talk to the sepulturero, the one
mm,
in charge of the cemetery.
uh-huh.
So my brother was very friendly to almost everybody there in town.
Mm-hmm.
And what he did was, I think 15 or 16, he moved my brother's body. He didn't put it in the common grave.
Oh,
He put it in another grave. He created one for my brother. So when my mother came, we were able to claim his bones. And my
was your
mom,
mother alone or were you with her?
no,
No, she
my
was alone.
mother is a very brave person.
Mm-hmm.
She would do everything by herself.
Mm-hmm.
So she went there to Bicol, and then she brought home the bones of my brother.
Mm-hmm.
But with their grievance, they never buried him until my father died in 2011.
Oh.
So
So where was the bones placed?
it was just in a box and under
Mm.
the bed of my father. He was crying
Oh.
for it every day.
So it's their way to cope with the grief, I guess.
Maybe that's how he coped with it. And we would just pass by, and pray for it every day.
Wow.
And
And,
and so
and
when my father was buried when he
mm,
died in 2011. He requested that the bones before he died. He requested that the bones be put at his feet. So we didn't make another coffin. It was just there
oh
with
my
him.
God.
That's how he requested it.
Did
So
he pass away ahead of your mom or was your mom ahead?
he died ahead of my mom. My mom died 6 years after.
Oh, oh my gosh.
5 years after.
Would you also recall what your father thought of your brother's life?
No, my father is a man of few words,
Mm-hmm.
and he would not say anything. But I could see him sometimes in the afternoon sitting down,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
we just pray. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what can you do? That's part of our life. You know.
Right, right. Oh, I think it's very sad that when you have your grief and you cannot openly honor the person who passed away, it's
You
more
can,
difficult.
yeah. We couldn't do anything. That's you know.
Personally, Tita, how do you reflect on your brother's life? Do you think he was an inspiration to you, or did he take
Yes.
the right course in life?
He was a very conscientious kid. He very very loving, and even all our housekeepers, whenever one of my brother would be getting upset with them, he
Mm,
would always protect. You know, there are your soplado or what to your mates. Sometimes you don't even treat them well. He doesn't like
Yeah.
that. You have to treat everybody well. He's the one of the family who is like that.
Where do you
And
think he got this trait? Like he's very into, he's a very fair guy, fair person.
from my mother is he's the most gracious one. She her father was a pastor.
I see.
My grandfather, maternal grandfather, Don Juan was a pastor, so she learned a lot from church. My mother is so involved with church activities and everything.
Uh-huh.
Even he was already a professor teaching at. She was teaching Spanish, um, finance, and economics. So,
Uh-huh.
but mostly
She's a
Spanish at
very
that time.
schooled woman, gracious,
Yeah.
schooled, intelligent.
The only thing she didn't get her doctorate was she has to defend it, but
Uh-huh.
she
She did
studied
her
everything
research.
at UST. She was
Oh,
traveling every weekend to Manila. That's
wow.
how it is before. You have to travel to your school. So every Saturday she was in UST.
So from
Taking,
your brother, where did you, I mean, how do you personally find him as a person, as the brother ahead of you, before you? Were you friends? Were you close?
yeah, we were close because growing up, we all have the same allowance and everything. And I would say at the middle of the month, August, I don't have money anymore. Oh, he said, I still have my money. Even Victor would do that, the two of them.
With
And they
you.
would give me half of their allowance and bring me to
Very
movies. And
generous.
sometimes we would eat at Max and then watch movie. That's what they do for me.
They're
And
such sweet brothers.
summertime, I said I would like to go, with my brother, with my friends to go socialize and everything. And my father said no. Then he would say, "Okay, I will bring you." So he has to ask
Oh,
permission from so he will be with me,
uh-huh.
pretending to be with me. Then he'll leave me with my friends. He was a very very sweet brother.
Did you
Very
call him
helpful.
Kuya or
No,
just August?
we August. We
Uh-huh.
only call the eldest one Kuya. That's Arthur, the
Uh-huh.
professor. And then Vic, I call him Vic. He's still alive. He's in Balanga, Bataan.
Uh-huh. This is
And
Vic. This is Vic, right?
this is Vic with his
I
wife.
thought he is your dad.
No, he
Mm,
looks
but
like
they
my
look
dad.
alike.
He looks
Yeah.
like my dad. And he stayed in Bataan. He stayed
Uh-huh.
there forever. Yeah. He is in Balanga, Bataan. They have their business there.
Is that
Yeah.
where you were born too, Tita? Or no?
No, I was born in Magsingal, Ilocos Sur, where my grandparents, because
Grandparents of the mother side. This
yeah,
one.
this is my mother's side. My mother is the one with the hat. They
Yeah.
said during the olden
Immediately I thought
time,
that's you. I thought like maybe this is Tita's family and that's her, and but
no,
you look like your mom really.
yeah. What they said before is when you are a woman and you get married, you stay in the town where your parents are of the woman. So when my grandmother died a year after, I was born 1951, and she died 1952. My parents has to move to Bataan.
Oh.
That's how they told me how it
Hmm.
happened. You
So
know.
you grew up in Bataan.
Yes, that's why I don't know Ilocano, but
Mm.
my three brothers they know Ilocano, and I was born in Ilocos.
Imagine. Well,
Yeah,
that's life. So
yeah.
from your dad, did you think that your brother August and you and other siblings inherited some traits from your dad, and what were these?
From my dad, he has a lot of patience. He
Mhm.
never said, it's always in his mind first, but whenever he opens his mouth, it
Mhm.
is the law, kind of in the family. He doesn't say much, but it's final.
You.
You cannot say against anything against it.
Oh my
He
God.
was really very, very strict in
I
a
wonder
different.
how he felt when your brother decided to go underground and he couldn't control him or stop him.
Okay, even though he cannot control us, my parents, especially my mother,
Mm-hmm.
never told us what we want to do with our life. We
Mm-hmm.
always have a free will. Like with me, I just decide whatever I want,
Mm-hmm.
And that's why she put me as an intern at the age of 12. I was already an intern in St. Paul, Manila.
Uh-huh.
And I can make a decision.
You're so beautiful.
I graduated high school there,
The young
1969.
Nieva.
So I was allowed at an early age to make decision for myself.
Mm.
That's why, in a way, sometimes you don't do everything correct, but
Mhm.
I go back to where how they train me. So I have a very, very strong personality. That's why it's my came from
Because
my
of that kind of
yeah,
freedom that you were
yeah,
given or allowed, right, Tita?
yes.
So
Hmm.
that's great. That's great. So, did your family apply for the compensation for victims of martial law for
Yeah,
your
the House
brother?
Bill 76, 78.
Yeah.
We applied for it, but then they requested a lot of documentation from you.
Mm.
How can you have documentation when when you cannot say anything? How can you have at
Right.
that
Nothing's
time?
been recorded.
How
Right.
can you produce all of this? You cannot go to the police. You cannot go to and report any of the wrongdoing being done to you. So doing that, we didn't have enough information. So they claim that my brother was NPA. They put him as a not fighting for the people, but fighting against the government. That's what they were
That's
saying.
why
But
you were not given the
but
compensation.
there's no clear definition on that. You see, when you are helping the people, you're not against the government. You are not. You are just opening the mind of these farmers who don't know what is going on. And
Yeah.
by helping them, you are being um what's
Attacked
that?
or killed, in fact.
Yeah, and can I talk in Tagalog? Sasabihin ng mga ah parang ikaw pa ang may kasalanan dahil tinutulungan mo ang mga mahihirap. Bakit mo
Yes.
kasalanan 'yun? Ino-open mo lang ang mga isip nila na ito ang dapat ninyong gawin para kayo ay maging progresong Pilipino.
Right.
That's all we were trying to do. That's what August was trying to do. He was trying to open their mind na ang lupang ito hindi pwedeng kunin ng mga inchik na mayayaman o taong mayayaman. Ito'y para sa inyo. Kayo ang
Mhm.
mga Pilipino, itong mga bukid ninyo para kayo ay mabuhay, para ang pamilya nyo ay maging maayos ang buhay para sa inyo. Pero hindi gano'n na nangyari. Ang gobyerno sinasabi nila, ikaw masyadong masyadong malakas ang iyong personality. Bakit mo tinuturuan yung mga taong 'yan na magkaroon ng rights? But
Mhm.
that's Filipino. You're a Filipino. You're not selling your land to other foreigners. You're trying to help them. And that's what he was doing. He made a lot of research on this. He is not he was with other students. There
Mhm.
were about 15 of them, I think. And they were all students trying to help these people who couldn't help themselves. And who will help us except us, right? We
Right.
Filipinos should help each other. And but those who are in power are accusing you of being uh, subservient or what do you call that? Yung
Subversive.
yeah,
Subversive.
yeah, subversive against them. And that's not true. You know,
I know, like your brother actually is a hero in a real sense that he went to the poor people who were like powerless and
yeah,
didn't even know their
that's
rights,
yeah,
and he,
that's what he was. Yeah,
coming
that's
from a very comfortable background, he put everything down and went to
mm-hmm,
actually where need was most
yeah.
where help was most needed, most necessary.
And I would see him before having
Mm,
his slippers. I wasn't used to, you know, from us when we wake up, from the time we wake up, we wear our shoes and everything. And I would see him wearing his slippers. And then when he takes it off, he put it on the side. I never saw him like that. He was like down to earth. Before in the Philippines, it's different, right? You just take it off or whatever. The
and
maids will be the
somebody
one
will follow you,
fixing. Yeah.
take
And
care of what your kalat.
yeah, pero siya, hindi. Inaalis niya yung slipper niya, tinatabi niya, see to it na pagbalik niya, nandoon yun. Tapos, that's
Wow.
very humble of him.
He is such
At
a
that time, I wasn't like
soul.
that.
Did he have children? Did he marry? Well, he
No,
was
we tried.
family.
Yeah, we tried to find out because at one time, as far as I know, he had a girlfriend when he was in college. But when, nung naging aktivista na siya, and he was in Bicol, my mother went there at one time looking for anybody, if he has a family that we are willing to take and whatever. There's none. He
Mm.
never did. His heart was really for the poor Filipino people. That's all he did.
That's a good memory of him, and his legacy of social justice, fairness, being
Mhm.
kind is there in your heart, and I'm sure among your other brothers too. And so I salute you for giving to us this memory of him, Tita. And it's her. I think his legacy lives on. Like, you seek for justice because that is so wanting in the Philippines and in the entire world, in fact. So let me shift a little bit about your life and how you look at things now. Um, you are here in the U.S. for quite a long time, and your family has grown. You have a big
Yeah,
family. You
I
have
have a big family.
grandchildren,
Yeah,
beautiful
yeah, I
grandchildren,
have
and
five
daughters and
children,
sons.
nine grandchildren.
Yes, you're part of the Filipino in the diaspora, and looking back at how you were raised and what happened to your brother, ano naman ang mai-share mo na reflections mo about life itself?
Okay, for me, even though let's say I live this life,
Mm,
I'm so grateful that I have the privilege to do it. But
mm-hmm,
what I do is I try to give back as much as I can, you
mm.
know, and that's why they said, how come you keep on going back to the Philippines? But that's where my heart is. I was born there. And how can
Maybe
I
your
help?
children ask that, Tita? Your children
No,
ask you that? I know.
no.
Oh, okay.
My husband,
Your husband. Okay.
that's from St. Paul, Manila, when I had my homecoming, golden homecoming.
That's
My
good.
husband, American, he said, because I would say, oh,
Uh,
I'm going home to the Philippines. He said, home is America.
oh,
You're visiting Philippines. I said, but that's where I was born. You know,
uh,
even though I don't have a house, I live with when I go there, I stay with my brother sometimes for a week and then go around
mhm,
Philippines. Um, uh, the only way that I could really still follow the footsteps of my mother, my August, my brothers. Actually, my brother, yeah, that's my parents, and August is there. My brother, um, Victor, is also very much into giving back to the community, even though he's in the Philippines. He had already received a papal award from the Pope directly, helping to the church and everything.
this
And
is him, right?
yeah, they're very, very generous to the church, helping people. He does some missions as well. And
Mm-hmm.
I just learned that he is a Lions. So am I. So we're putting together our mission in February. I told him already. And I told Nana Smith that I will do a mission in Balanga Bataan
Oh,
this February 2023. And that's one way of following the legacy of my mom,
mm.
who, when I was growing up, was doing also fundraising for a lot of poor people.
This is your
Yeah,
mom, Senator
yeah,
Katiba.
yeah, with Senator Kalaw Katigbak. And
If I'm not
this,
mistaken, this is a uniform of CWL, right?
yes,
Catholic
Catholic
Women's
Women's
League.
League. Yes. And my mom was the president of the whole of Sambales.
Oh, so she's
So,
like you. She's giving back.
yeah, and she was teaching, she was
Uh-huh.
doing that, and she was a mother. She's all over. That's why we don't see her that much too.
Superwoman, superwoman.
And so my children are saying that I'm exactly like my mom.
That is like
doing,
you're always everywhere.
and doing services also. I mean, as much
Yeah,
as I can, the way my personality works you cannot be
yeah,
be
awesome.
perfect and everything. So I try to help as much as I can.
So now you're living the life, that kind of life.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's true. In
So,
a way.
one last question: like, how do you? What is your view right now that this Marcos is back in power, the son? What
Okay.
can you say about our situation in the
My
Philippines?
take out from this is we shouldn't, as Filipinos, forget what
Mm,
had happened in 1972 when Marcos declared martial law. You must always research what had happened during those times, how much money our country was sold to different countries, and the money came only to the Marcoses. That's why they became rich. They weren't rich. Their money is our money.
mm.
Okay? It's the Filipino money. So those who are young now who don't know what had happened, open your eyes. Please don't forget. People had died for our country to protect us, and that money are ours. We are entitled to it. That's why our peso went down. It used to be growing up. It was 1:2.
Mm-hmm.
$1 is 2 pesos. When I came to the United States in the 80s, it was 1:5.
It
You know,
improved.
you
It
think the
devalued.
exchange is good in your terms, it is good. But in terms of economics, we are poor because of that. So we should look at it that way in both ways.
Coming from a
So that's my
mathematician,
takeout from that.
somebody from the finance world. Thank you for your message, Tita, of bravery and critical mindedness, which is really important and necessary these days. So I wish you all the best in your life here in New York and elsewhere, wherever you want to go. Enjoy life, and thank you for always being there to help the Filipino community in the diaspora. And
Thank
so,
you for having me.
yes, Tita, just stay there. I'd like to show some pictures because there is this press release being sent to me, and these are the young people who are critical minded and taking action, making their voices heard. They went to um, Times Square during the inauguration of President Bongbong Marcos, and they showed their messages to uphold human rights,
Yes,
and
yes.
uh, to assert that the Philippines is ours. This is in context of the
Mhm.
impending problem with South China Sea and all the other situation on poverty that has been very a huge problem for Filipinos. And they
That's
have
true.
this very strong messages: Marcos magnanakaw, Marcos
Mhm.
thief, and then they mentioned about the Duterte legacy of the extrajudicial killings during the drug war campaign. And
Mhm.
this is a wide shot of those who went there. This was on June 30 at the Times Square, right at the heart, the middle of the island of Manhattan, mid Manhattan. So you see that. And so the fight for freedom and our decency as a people and as individuals continue. It is upon us every day, every hour. You don't take things for granted.
Mhm.
So, Tita, I
So,
thank you so much for your time. And I hope to see you in person very
okay. So
soon.
let us not forget Filipinos. Okay?
Never, never.
Our heart should be for Filipinos.
Correct.
Everyone, regardless of poor or rich. Okay?
That's the most important thing for us to have a equitable country and a progress that is for everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Tita. And with that, we'll say goodbye and we'll see you again in another great conversation with
Okay.
any awesome Filipino in our community. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you, Tita. And bye for now, ladies and gentlemen.
Bye.
Thanks for your time.
Okay. Bye.